Well, happy Thursday. It's me, Alex, your instructor and that sassy dispatcher and the founder of Dispatch Training Center. Well, we are going to be talking today about upcoming trainings for IFTA and permits, also safety and compliance. And we're going to see how important it is for the future pro dispatcher, for the future owner of the trucking company, or maybe already owner who is trying to survive in trucking to catch up on understanding of safety, compliance, regulations, what to do and not to do, and how to actually maintain safety ratings for your company, and what is there to know for sure to survive in this industry. I'll be right back in a second, and we're gonna see what the main websites, main ideas you already need to understand to continue your profession as a dispatcher, your safety manager position, and also owner of the company. So let's look at a little preview, and we will be back in 30 seconds. Well, most of you already familiar with FMCSA, and hopefully you do understand the abbreviation because it simply stands for Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. What does this administration actually take care of? Of course, rules and regulations and compliance for anybody who would like to join trucking company as a motor carrier. First, before you decide to register, you need to figure out what type of authority are you guys going to apply. And we have not only authority for hire, right? Most of us are motor carrier for hire, right? Common motor carrier. That means that we buy the truck, we buy our trailer, maybe not. We go on a load board and we are looking for the loads to carry cargo from A to B. That's why we are common carrier. But there is a different types of authority, and each authority costs simply $300. If you really want to figure out what are you trying to do, make sure you click on the different types of authorities right here and see what are you applying to. The biggest mistakes people do when they do not understand what I'm actually trying to do in this industry. I had a phone call this previous week from my dispatch student who is trying to help her family members. And they were trying to set up with a TQL. They went through the process of setting up. They made the first phone call, and TQL is simply telling them, well, we're not going to be working with you. And after reviewing their contract was into the safer and looking what's going on, we found the first mistake because they did not really hire somebody who is knowledgeable, or they did not educate themselves. So when they were applying for authorities, unfortunately, they apply right away for two authorities as a common carrier and freight forwarder because they simply were trying to translate, are you going to be forwarding freight? Well, yes, if you decide to become a freight forwarder, but you usually just need the common authority. So here's a little advice for you. If you're trying to apply for one authority, in the end of that process, If FMCSA website is asking you to pay more than $300, it's asking you to pay $600, $900, or even $1,200. That means that by mistake, you actually applied for few authorities. So go back and review. Do not click because this is going to be nightmare. So picture right now TQL looking at this new company and simply seeing that besides the common carrier, they also have freight forwarder authority. And a lot of times people also apply right away for brokerage authority. They're not even activated. They're not even not sure if they're gonna be using it, but they do it and they pay the $600 and simply killing their chance to even start getting those loads. So, one more time, before you guys apply to anything or get consultations from somebody or simply educate yourself. One more time, if you just a person who has a truck and who has a trailer and wants to move the freight, you are going to be applying for, look at this, the second one, motor carrier. The first one, motor carrier of property except household goods. This is a common carrier. If you are going to be moving company, then you can apply for motor carrier of household goods. If you decide to be a broker, like TQL, like Coyote, like RXO, England Logistics, then you will need to apply for broker authority exactly for common carriers. So accept the household goods. If you decide to be a broker for moving company, then you applying for the broker for the household goods. And then we have extra authorities. And you can simply read here, find this information for free. So we have freight forwarder, we also have Mexico authority, Canadian authority, right? So all of this is for free right here. Educate yourself. So that was the first mistake. Second mistake, and I'm not gonna tell the name of the student, I'm not gonna tell the company because I simply want to make sure that we eliminate these mistakes. If you guys ever been taking my classes, the first class, we're talking about initial setups with the brokers. And we as a dispatchers, if we are an independent dispatcher, if we are a company dispatcher, we are simply representing the carrier. So please do not run to FMCSA website. Do not try to open a 30. You don't need to have MC number to be a dispatcher. Hopefully pro dispatcher, or maybe a desperate dispatcher, or company dispatcher, or whatever type of dispatchers you're trying to be, but you are servicing carriers. You do not to apply for MC. You do not need to apply for BOC3. You do not need to carry coverages such as primary liability, cargo coverage, maybe general liability. Simply why? Because it is not your company. You do not have equipment. You do not have a driver. And you are not owning this transportation company. You are working for them. Let's say if I'm an accountant for trucking company, do I have to go and buy a bank, or do I have to have finances available to be accountant? No, I do not. I just simply have to have a knowledge to help company with their accounting needs. If I'm a mechanic, do I certainly need to have my own shop and all the licenses and I don't know, whatever mechanics do? No, I can work at some mechanic shop and still servicing the carriers. So same with a dispatcher. Guys, please, let's cut this nonsense out. And I've been saying this for years now and probably in every video. I do not want to sound like a broken recording, but dispatchers do not need to apply for MC. Dispatchers do not need to apply for USDOT. Dispatchers do not need to carry primary liability, cargo liability, general liability, physical liability coverages. Dispatchers simply need to have a knowledge how to represent the carrier in order to find the loads. We found them on the load boards. We can actually be a tracking department for some of the carriers. So we simply doing simple service. First, initial setup with the brokers if we're not set up. Secondary, going on the load boards, looking for the loads, negotiating them, reviewing all the details, making sure that the load makes sense, that our carrier hopefully will make the profit or at least break at zero at this point. And we still gonna be processing paperwork, invoicing. We have to make sure that we monitor the transit. We will be dispatching drivers. We will be assisting drivers with any upcoming problems, breakdowns on the road, maybe being late for the appointments, rescheduling, giving updates to the brokers, dealing with the extra accessorial charges such as maybe lumper, maybe detention, maybe layover, and simply making sure that this process is going simplify carriers operations logically with knowing market, knowing the equipment, understanding the difference, let's say between flatbed, what else do I have here, reefer right here, or driving, right? So that's a simple knowledge you need to have as a dispatcher. Secondary, you need to be able to multitask. You have to be able to do a few things at the same time. Talking on the phone with somebody, answering the email, still looking at the ELD of your driver, making sure that he is dispatched, that he knows what he's picking up, and also preventing cargo claims. By what? By maybe not taking multi-picks, multi-drops, maybe knowing the exclusions on your policies, maybe simply not sending your truck to big cities if your driver does not have experience, eliminating the dead areas, and all other things. But today we are not teaching you how to become a dispatcher. Well, to become a dispatcher, you need to understand the market changes, you need to know the seasonal changes, you need to have negotiation skills, you need to be able to communicate via phone, via email, maybe in person. So there is a lot of things dispatchers need to have in order to succeed. Of course, we all start from somewhere. I started a long time ago, and believe it or not, I was clueless. I made so many mistakes. That's why, if you took my classes, you hear all those funny stories, and a lot of times they are not funny. I am even embarrassed that I made decision. For example, to pick up the cowhides or maybe send my truck in the middle of nowhere. Simply why? Because I did not invest in knowledge. And back then in 2013, it was not many YouTubers, it was not many Instagrammers, it was not any TikTokers whatsoever, or even classes to prepare me to be a freight dispatcher, because I'm the person who is willing to learn. I'm the person who is also always invest in education and learning something new. That's why after being in trucking industry for a long time, after owning my own trucking company, after making all the mistakes, I finally decide that we need to change trucking for the better. And my personal understanding of this industry, that we have lack of education on all levels. When I see some students in my class who are pro drivers and we start talking about certain things, well, we both agree that maybe even drivers have to learn a lot to call themselves pro drivers. We have a lot of dispatchers who have been dispatching for years, but the market goes tough while they are quitting dispatching, or they're simply are not able to do the job good enough at this market. Why? Because they do not have basic knowledge. But as a pro dispatcher, as a good dispatcher, you need to understand rules and regulation from FMCSA, from USDOT department, from all of these third parties who actually administrate trucking industry, and also all the third parties who are servicing industry. We were covering the setups, right? We know the companies which make it easier. Highway, DAT onboarding, RMIS, Accure Assist, so they are servicing industry. Then we have bunch of ELD companies who are making millions of dollars because this is mandatory, right? Everybody has to follow hours of service. So they are making money on servicing trucking. But as a dispatcher, you should invest in knowledge about safety and compliance. Why? Because simply, if your carrier is opening the trucking company and they are looking for the new dispatcher, you should be able to help them out. And simply things as process agent, for example, who is authorized to file BOC3 with FMCSA. Look, you have the list right here. If you contact any of these companies, well, that BOC coverage is going to be $19, $20. But if you do not really know what's going on, then you're going to pay me, I'm going to pay them, or you're going to pay somebody else, and they will make money on you. Everything has a price. If you do not invest in education, if you do not know how to Google it, if you do not know how to observe all of this, well, you're going to pay the price. But a lot of times, we have lots and lots of scammers. So let's think that we already apply for our MC. And it doesn't matter which state are you locating at. It doesn't matter if you're going to be operating only one truck. I do not really care if you have flatbed, reefer, or dry van, but all of you are going to be part of something which we call new entrant safety audit. It depends on the state. It depends how many carriers applying in that state. You have a period of 18 months to pass your first audit as a carrier. And there is going to be a list of paperwork which you will need to provide online. And some of it, of course, include very simple things, such as enrollment in drug and alcohol program, prove that you know how to use clearinghouse and that you did do that, driver applications, MVRs, road test, and everything else. So the problem with most of the new carriers that they think that they can catch up later. But a lot of things, for example, as enrollment and drug and alcohol, running that clearinghouse query, unfortunately, you cannot fake it any longer. I can tell you this. In 2013, when I opened the company and I was listening to everybody in Chicagoland how to run safety and compliance, I can tell you honestly, 95% of the time, everything was fake. Drug test was done after driver was already working for 2 weeks. All the applications were done later, and a lot of times all those signatures were faked. And it worked a long time, and nobody was really worried about safety and compliance. But when the market switches, when the claims coming up, when the insurance actually is not willing to pay anymore for drivers which were not added on a policy, well, regulations and audits are actually start charging more money for the fines. And nowadays, unfortunately, it's not that easy to fake certain data. So please do not listen to people who've been in a business for 10, 15 years, because everything is change. And change is actually positive due to technology, right? It's very easy to verify if you are actually making those fake applications, if those signatures are actually were done by the drivers. Plus, drivers are getting educated thanks to the media, thanks to the YouTube, Instagram, and all the TikTokers and people who trying to share this information. So for you as a dispatcher, at least you need to understand what does it mean that your carrier is going through new entrant safety audit. You need to also understand how to help them, which forms to maintain on the files. And that's why a lot of times we need to make sure that we familiar with motor carrier safety planner, right? We need to make sure that we have all the resources and know how to run safety and compliance. Simply look at this. All of these resources, all of these forms, and all of these related websites already listed for free. You don't really have to pay me or somebody else to send you most of the forms. You probably just need somebody to make a system for you and actually share a personal experience how to do it faster, better, and maybe save some money on the third parties. But if you a person who is willing to find everything by yourself, make sure you find the motor carrier safety planner, and you can find bunch of forms right here which you can use for your company. Let's simply start with accident registry form. Look, you don't have to make it up. It's already here for you. Just download and use it. Most of the people are paying money for example, driver application. Really? Look at this. It's already here. You do not have to redo it. You do not have to pay me unless, again, you want to receive the package, you want to receive instructions, and you want to kind of learn all the steps of safety and compliance. But the basic and mandatory things are here for free. So please, my dear future pro dispatchers, make sure you spend some time and go to FMCSA and start learning all of this. Well, we also need to make sure that we understand all the trucking permits and IFTA requirements. I will be right back. I'm gonna see who is watching us and share maybe to few groups. If you guys can share, I would appreciate it. And of course, ask me the questions. So we're gonna be talking about IFTA and trucking permits. You as a dispatcher have to understand what has to be done on your end and why is it important to be able to assist your brand new carrier. Or maybe when you decide to open your trucking company, at least you know what does it take to succeed in trucking industry. So let's go and see how can you find out information about the IFTA. I would like you to go to original resources. That means that we have actually iftach.org. That's where all the changes, that's where all indexes, that's where all the rules and regulations about IFTA you can find. And if you really want to learn how to do this, you should actually go and start reading. Let's say your carrier is located in certain state. Well, first, as a future dispatcher, you need to understand, does he really need IFTA? Does he really need to apply for the decals? And how often he will need to file those filings, right? So first, you will understand if his equipment and his operations require the IFTA. And it simply goes by what? Well, it simply goes by the weight of your equipment. So, and it also goes if you are staying in one state or you moving out of state. It also has information about how many axles your equipment has. And in that case, if you are required to have IFTA, well, your carrier has to apply, right? Should I apply for IFTA? And look at this. You can go and see the qualifications. If you meet this criteria, then you need to have IFTA. So some of them. Well, first, let's see. You have 2 axles and your gross weight or registered gross weight is more than 26,000 pounds. Well, has 3 or more axles regardless of the weight. So if your equipment has 3 or more axles, I don't care if it's less than 26,000, you will be required to have IFTA decals and IFTA license. Well, and also you need to make sure that if it's used in combination and it should exceed 26 pounds, you of course have to have IFTA. The only way you are not applying for IFTA if you are intrastate carrier and you're gonna be operating only in one state. Let's say you just want to be interstate in tax as well. In this case, you don't really have to belong to this international fuel tax agreement. And this agreement is between whom? Well, first, it's between the USA and some Canadian provinces. How can you find your jurisdiction state? What does it mean? Am I belonging to Illinois? Am I belonging to Texas? Well, usually your jurisdiction state is where your company is located and registered. So let's say if you're in Georgia, here's all information about your IFTA. They're giving you the phone number for the department. They're actually giving you website, and they even include the emails. So as a carrier, as a pro dispatcher who is assisting carrier with applying for IFTA, you can find information right here. If you have somebody else from different state, well, simply go, let's say, to Florida. And here is information about the Florida. It has a website and it has phone number. In this case, well, they don't really have the email address. Let's look if you are in Illinois. Well, if you're in Illinois, you have our email address for the Springfield Department of Revenue. You also have website. So usually you go there and you're going to be applying for your IFTA. You're going to go to My Tax Illinois, and this is where you can log in, you can register and apply for your IFTA. Of course, right now, we're not going to be teaching you how to open your IFTA account in each state. We're just giving you a general information that is available for free. It's available from the IFTA.org. A lot of information is available from FMCSA. Also, you can actually Google lots and lots of articles, lots of brokers sharing the information. The major load boards as a DAT and truck stop, if you really log in to their blogs or their articles or their tabs, you can find a lot of information. How to even open MC, what factoring is. Let's say RTS factoring. They also have a lot of information on financing their equipment and how to file IFTA, how to file for the permits. But as a dispatcher, you need to know that all of us have general IFTA from the state where we register, but we also need to remember certain states when we have where we have to have extra permits. And nowadays those are Connecticut, Kentucky, New York, New Mexico, and Oregon. You can have annual accounts, you can have temporary permits, but as a dispatcher, you need to know what information you need to have to help your carrier to apply, what actually signs your carrier has to have, which decals does he have to have. Let's say for IFTA, we put in decals on the side of our trailer. for New York, we're gonna put them down on a bumper, right? When a driver. Connecticut and Kentucky. For Kentucky, we're gonna put the number here, which indicates our Kentucky number. Connecticut, New Mexico, and Oregon, we might just have a permit in a truck, in the folder of the truck, or actually even carry on the driver's phone. So hopefully you guys understand that being a dispatcher, it takes a little bit more knowledge than just knowing how to use load boards, pause the truck, or how to monitor hours of service. That's why for all the previous students, it's still not too late to register. We are starting our IFTA on Sunday, and then we're gonna follow with safety and compliance. So IFTA calculations this upcoming Sunday, it's a live class. It's going to be from 12 to 4 p.m. And a lot of people asking me, is that enough to actually learn how to file the IFTA? Guys, it's more than enough. We're going to talk about applying for IFTA, how to renew your IFTA, how to order decals, how to get the replacement decals, what happens if you move from one state to another, what paperwork you need to have in order to pass all the audits. And then we're going to go through actually live filings in Connecticut, New York, Kentucky, New Mexico, and Oregon accounts so you can see how it's done. And one more time, it's always the same. Doesn't matter if you have one truck, doesn't matter if you have 20 trucks, you just need to gather information about miles, the gallons, and remember that we file IFTA quarterly. So we're going to be talking about all of this stuff. And then if you decide to continue with safety and compliance, we have 4 following classes. And this is a date. If you reach out to us, we can still send you invoice. If you are a previous student, then you will save extra $150 on top of $250. And if you never took our classes, well, you can enroll and take it together. And you can save $250, so it's going to be $1,049. If you only want to take IFTA or only safety, you can still use the code July 100 and you can still save $100. Is it too late to register for Sunday class? No. Registration will be closed tomorrow at noon. All the students are receiving all the preparation tomorrow in the morning. So please, if you're serious about this, sign up. Make sure that you know how to use Zoom. Make sure you download certain files. And on Sunday, we're going to be learning and we are going to be becoming a pro safety managers. First, we're going to learn IFTA and permits. Well, let's see if you guys have any questions. If not, you guys know where to find us, right? You can go to Learn Dispatch today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today. Let's see if anybody's watching us. Well, I see the Aja watching us, and she's asking what is the difference between freight forwarder. Well, Aja, you're a previous student, and I would like you to start utilizing FMCSA. So please go back and find different authorities, and they have descriptions because it's easy for me to just repeat myself. But if you're gonna go and see what is freight forwarder are, what are the requirements, you're gonna remember that for sure. You know how I teach. So we also have some followers on YouTube who are actually giving us support and telling that we are on a mission to change trucking for the better. Thank you so much. And hopefully, guys, little by little, you're gonna learn all of these things and you're going to help your future carriers, right? If you're really looking for extra information, I would recommend you to start with new entrant audit. Okay, what is gonna required, what has to happen, and they have lots and lots of educational videos right here. So please go and watch. What do you have to do? What does it mean to have a corrective action plan? As a dispatcher, you need to know why some brokers are not going to give you loads. Well, because if your safety is not in a good standing, if your numbers are higher than national average, a lot of times you will have to help your carrier to come up with corrective action plan. And of course, remember, safer. That's where all the information about safety of each carrier is registering, and it stays there for 3 years. And a lot of times you as a dispatcher have to learn how to read it. So let's click. Let's just find some. I just put the best. Please, if by any chance, best aftercare, I mean, you watching me, I'm not really picking on you. I don't really know which company is this, but we can see that they're active carrier and they are located in Arizona. They are interstate carrier and they are taking care of general freight and motor vehicles. And if we're gonna go to safety and compliance, we can see that they have one inspection, and we can actually go and look into the details. So if you guys gonna go here, you can see that we have a different categories, and we divide them by unsafe driving, crash indicator, hours of service, vehicle maintenance, drug and alcohol, substance abuse, if you are hazmat carrier, and also driver fitness. So if you decide to click and see any of the data, it's going to show you that carrier had some issues, when the violations were taken care of, what kind of violations, and this is a public knowledge. So if we even open this, we can see that this carrier, Best Auto Care Corp, this inspection was done in Massachusetts, and it was in 2023. It started at 5:53 p.m. It's ended at 18:23. You can even see inspection type. It was inspection level 3, and the violation which were found. First, the lane restriction violation, and also he was not maintaining his logbooks. So all of this data stays on the safer for 3 years. And unfortunately, lots of new carriers, they don't even know about the existence of the safer. They never check on their numbers. They never look at the graphs. And finally, they're receiving the letters for the audit preparation, or simply the dispatcher is not able to book loads anymore. And then they are reaching out for help. Please go opposite way, learn safety and compliance, and then go into the business. Start improving your safety and compliance before it's too late. If you want to be a really pro dispatcher, add this knowledge so you can help your carrier stay in the business. Because if they are not going to be able to book the loads because of their safety and compliance, unfortunately, you also not going to have a job. You're not going to be able to provide service for carrier that is not safe and compliant. I'll see you soon, guys, and hopefully you remember that our August class is coming up, and you can still use, oh, here's a wrong date because it's August 24. Our IFTA is on Sunday. Safety and compliance starts after that. So following Sunday, we start in the first safety class. And remember, all of us needs to understand how to strategize to reduce and protect our carriers. We also need to make sure that we are taking proactive measures when it's not too late, not when they already taken our MCs away, not when the insurance already denying our renewal, not when the drivers are leaving your company because they are simply getting stopped every time on wait station. And of course, we need to make sure that we understand and master IFTA calculations, and we stop faking those numbers, because you simply cannot afford fines any longer. And it's always me, Alex, and I'll see you soon. If you decide to support our mission, you can become a member for $4 a month on our YouTube channel. And what we do, we give a free education to people in need. I'll see you soon, and hopefully, we can change trucking for the better together.